Shall we start?
Yeah, give me 1 second. Let me just.
I thought that was it.
That was it. Right. There you go. Yeah. So I want to talk about our beloved brethren, Yishmael.
The famous week.
What?
The famous
Oh yeah, other people had him.
Rabbi Avi was in town. He gave him here.
Could have said the same thing. What do I know?
Maharal, Shimshon was his son, Mishmar.
Oh yeah. Okay, so I want to talk about Yishmael and particularly Sarah's treatment of Yishmael at the beginning. Anyways, it says like this: in last week's parsha, what happens is that we'll start with this week's parsha. I guess it's this week's parsha, Parsha Vayera. Sarah sees that Vatera Sarah as Ben Hagar Hamitzvus Ashayolu Avram Yitzchakek, and she sees Yishmael making Tzaras Yitzchakek Avodah Zarah. She says the Gilui Arayis Ritzicha, and she says Vatera Sarah Gorsha Amazazos, drive her out of Vespana. I get rid of Hagar and her son. Ki lo yirash ben Ha'amah Azos M'niyam Yitzchak. This guy is not staying around with my Yitzchakol. And Avram Vayera Hadav Ma'oid Ve'ein Avram. He thought it was terrible. And Hashem says, Al Yer Ben Echal Enar Avram Asecha Kol Shetem Alecha Sar Shema B'Koila. He's in the midst to listen to his wife. Ki V'yitzli Kol Chazara. But don't worry about the gam as Ben Ha'amah the gam as Ben Ha'amah L'Gai Simeni Ki Zaracha. Don't worry. I'll take care of Yishmael also, but listen to your wife and get rid of him. Now, the whole relationship with Sarah and Hagar and Yishmael is like strange. Over here, Sarah says, get rid of him. Avram is very upset about it. But he listens to Akash Baruch. Akash Baruch says, Kol Shetem L'Chazar, Shema B'Koilo, fine. But in Parashat Lech Lecha, like, it seems almost like Sarah is not being nice to Hagar. Even though she's the one that initiates the relationship, right? Because he didn't have any kids. And so, Vatam Yisrael Hagai, Ba'alecha, Ba'ulai Ibanim Imena, Vayishma Avram L'Kol Sarai. And what happens is that Vayovel Hagar, and she comes, and then it says Vatekel Gvir to Beinah, and so it says Vataneh Sarah, and Sarah, afflicted her. She was worried of her, right? Vatirach Miboneh, and Hashem, and the Malach comes to Sarah and says, no, Vatem Vayimel Malach Hashem Shubel Gvir, go back home, Bisani Tachas Yadel, and
Physical altercation?
So it doesn't say. It says all it says is Vataneh Sarah, and Sarah panicked her, right? That's like Tashman in Yeshiva, right? And she ran away, and so it's not like this is Sarah Imenu, who was a higher madrega of Nevuah than Avram Avinu, and she's like mistreating her and sending her away, and the Malach says come back. Like what's like it's right. It's hard to understand, right? So it seems like this. So what? Okay, so basically, hold on. So it's like this. Just want to point out an interesting thing. In Parshat Lech Lecha also, so Avram tells HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what I'm going to have. Hine ben Basi, I don't have any kids. What's going to be with me? So Hashem says, no, don't worry about it. He says, Vayotze chutza. I'm looking at the sky, right? So what's the idea? He has to go outside and look at the stars. So Rashi says, say, you have a way of escaping your astrological mazel, right? Say, Avram ain't a moilid, Avram moilid. Avram's not going to have a kid, but Avram is going to have a kid. Okay? With the hay. And that's what happened. At 99, his name changed to Avraham. That's what's in the end of the parsha, and he has Yitzchak. The Plia Atzuma is that at 13 years earlier, Yishmael was born when his name was still Avram. So, like, what's going on? It says.
Hashem wanted Yitzchak to come from the Yud and the Hey.
I know, but so what's going on with it? But it says the Rashi says that Avram. Avram ain't a Moilid, Avram Moilid, but it's not even true. Yishmael was born when his name was Avram. So it's not, so like, how does it line up? So Rav Moshe Shapiro said the following, Rav Moshe Shapiro, the big Baal Machshav at the Shul, he said the following idea. He said, there was like always a theme that he would say over. He would say like this: there's a Gemara in Shabbos that talks about a person who was stranded in the midbar with an infant, a man who was stranded with an infant, and he had no way of feeding the infant, and there was a nates that made him, and he was able to nurse the child and until he got to civilized area, and the kid survived. So there was mamish nates that a man was able to nurse the child. So the Gemara says, "Kama garua izeh." How bad is this person? Shenishtana of sidrei bereshis, that there was a change in teva that they had to keep him alive. Well, I understand. It's a bad thing for an ace to happen. Like Kama garua is there? Like we always have nisim. You see, Mitzrayim was also nishtana sidrei teva. Like that's a bad thing. Like what's going on? So he was saying like this: there are two different types of nisim. There's a nace that happens above teva, and a nace that happens within teva. Kolaima. There are two tracks. There's the teva track that works with chemistry and physics and seasons and cause and effect, and everything is locked in. Causality, everything is teva, is locked in. Teva is a lotion of matbeya, it's tavua, it's stuck. It's all stuck. It's all going to happen. That's one approach to that's one a way that the world runs. There's another way that's a higher plane of the world running, and that's the history of Klal Yisrael, and that runs above. That's above Mazel, but that also has a seder. It has a seder with Avos and with Klal Yisrael and with Yitzias Mitzrayim and Kriyas Yamsov and Kriyas Hayarden, and that's also a seder of how the world had to happen. Bereshis before Yisrael and Nikra Bereshis. It was also a way that the world was destined to go. There was the Teva way, and there's the higher way. The Shem Mishmar even says that's why the Seder night is called Seder, because you would think that if it was a break from Seder, you see every single miracle was like some sort of wild chiddush, right? You're saying no, it was a Seder. It was the higher Seder, but it was also a track. It was a higher track of Lamal Min HaTeva, two separate parallel tracks. The problem is that sometimes that something is not zoicha to the higher track, but within the track of Teva, there has to be a rupture in Teva. In other words, Kama Garua Izeh was this person, we don't know anything about this guy. Who was this guy? We never know anything about him. But for whatever reason, the baby had to stay alive. But he wasn't some tzaddik living on a higher plane of his existence. It wasn't the history of Klal Yisrael. One guy had to survive. So over there had to be a rupture in Teva in order to make him survive. That's Kama Garua Izeh. That's not a nice thing. So Yitzchak belonged to the higher history of Klal Yisrael. When Avraham becomes Av Hamoin Goyim, the hay is added. So of course it was a nace that Yitzchak was born, but that was the nace within the higher level of the Bria, and that was a Moed Gezach. Yishmael is a Pera Adam. He's a rupture in Adam. He's a rupture in Teva. He's going against Teva. He's a wild beast. In other words, it's a nace. Because Avram ain't a Moilid. It's within the Mahalach of Teva, it shouldn't have happened. Kilu. There was some sort of nace. That was a rupture of Teva. It's a Pera Adam. It's a break in Adam. So Mamel, he comes to be this wild person that has to be tamed. So Sarah, knowing where Hagar's coming from, now Hagar was a fine person. She left. She was a Bas Pareh, and she joined Avram's household. Obviously, if she wasn't a chashuv lady, then Sarah wouldn't have offered it to be the what's it called, the wife of Avram to produce a child. She was Sarah Shivcha, right? And she's Talmid al-Chayra, maybe prime Talmud. But if you look at the Rashi, and Sarah Hagar didn't want to do it. So what happened was that Vatikach Sarah. So Rashi says, "Lo chasa b'dvarim." She had to convince her. Ashrecha shezachisa lidavek beguf kodesh kazeh. How you're so lucky you're able to be mistabek beguf kodesh kazeh. It's like that's the way you talk about marriage. you mistabek beguf kodesh sounds like a little bit physical, no? Like beguf kodesh.
Hagar didn't want.
She didn't want to do it, right? So he has to mistabek with Ram. He had to convince her. And he tells her Ashrecha that you get a chance to be mistabek beguf kodesh kazeh. It's a funny lashon. The teretz is
The convincing
that
was the first time or the second time?
the first time before Ishmael was born.
When she ran out.
No. The first time when
Before Yishmael was born, there was
before
there was a miscarriage.
That's not what we're talking about. Vatikach, the first time, Sarah Eshes Avram Yod Lebod. So what happened was Vatikach Sarah Eshes Avram, and he gives her to Avram, and she doesn't want to go, So she doesn't want to go. So Lachasa B'Dvarim, so it doesn't say. So Lachasa B'Dvarim, so she convinced her, and she says Ashrecha says the Chisel Lidovik Beguf Kodesh Kazeh, which sounds a little bit physical. The terrorist is that what? Okay, I hear. But the terrorist is that what Sarah's plan was that Hagar was going to be the surrogate mother. In other words, Avada Sarah would have been the real mother. Hagar would have been the surrogate. She would have she would have produced like nowadays they have surrogates, right? She was going to produce the baby for her. But Avada Sarai was going to be the mother. That was the plan, and especially knowing where Yishmael is coming from. Well, sorry, okay. No, where Yishmael is coming from with a Hagar background and being a para Adam that was a break from Teva. It would need a proper chinuch to make sure that Yishmael is a good boy. Okay. What? Well, that was the problem. But what happened was that it backfired. Vatekel gevirta beinah. And Hagar looks at, I'm not giving up control of this kid, even though that was always the plan in the first place. That's just be mistabek begufa and let Sarai raise the child. But she said, I'm not doing this. If I take a gvir to Beinah, and she looks at, she doesn't have a baby, I had a baby, and she is Mishmar over Sarai, and she doesn't let Sarai influence Yishmael.
From a maternal aspect, or just to get back?
No. Well, but she's not. Yeah, I don't know. But all I know is that she's not letting the Sarai do the proper chinuch. If I take a view to Meinah, so
Hagar wouldn't know how to do it.
what?
Hagar wouldn't know.
And yeah, Hagar didn't know how to do it. Right. She, and Sarai was only masking to it. Right. And so and
But
right.
she was a hush of a person.
Apparently she knew it.
She married Abraham. So
Right.
She knew her.
So it's what? These are right. Yeah, it needed that type of chinuch. So what happens is, so Avram comes, so the Malach comes, and it says,
Which Malach was this?
so Hagar runs away, right? Hagar runs away with the baby, and
Because the whole tumult.
the whole tumult, and Vayomer lo Malach Hashem shuvi al gevritech v'sani tachas. No, because Sarah is one second. It says Vatanera Sarah, so she's not accepting it. Vatanera Sarah, and Rashi says Vatanera Sarah. No, the pasuk says Vatanera Sarah. So Rashi says, one second. No, the uncle says.
Hashem, it says?
Rega. It says Vatanera Sarah Vatirach mipanera. So the uncle says Va'anise Sarai. She afflicted her. She gepeinigt her. Va'rokas mikadmash. Runs away. And Vayimtzo Malach Hashem. And the Malach Hashem finds her in the midbar. And the Hagar tells the Malach, Mipnei Shifcha, Mipnei Sarai Gevirte Anechi Baracha. She's making me crazy. Vayomer Malach Hashem, Shuvi al Gevirtech, go back, V'hisani Tachas Yodea. What does it mean, V'hisani Tachas Yodea? Over here, the English type is different. Not a lotion of in Anise, but rather V'ishtabdi Tachas Yoda. In other words, Sarai is right. Subdue yourself and subject yourself to Sarai. That's the plan. In other words, he says Sarai wasn't doing anything wrong. Sarai was making sure that she would be the mechaneches, and Hagar wasn't in the position of being mechaneches as Apel Adam, and Sarai was, and she refused to take a gvir, and the chinuch wasn't working out. So he says. So he says that so the Malach says, go back. His ani tachzadera says v'shtabdi tachzadera means allow Sarai to be in charge, and then you'll be able to work out this she'll able to be mechanic you properly. But it doesn't. But at the end it didn't work out. What happened? Right, it didn't work out. But then what? And then Yitzchak is born. In other words, it didn't work out. The chinuch didn't work out, and she says, "I'm not allowing the exposure of Yitzchak to this para Adam." So he sends Yishmael away.
So she didn't
What?
listen to the Malach?
What?
Hugger?
What?
At the end, she didn't listen to the Malach?
She didn't. Right. Apparently, it didn't work out. Right. Apparently, it didn't work out. And yeah, the truth is,
Wondering what her chesed was.
what? So she didn't listen to instructions. She didn't listen to instructions. But the plan was that that if it would have worked out ideally, so Yishmael would have been surrogate, Hagar would have surrogate, and Yishmael would have listened to, would have been subjugated to and even
An interesting,
right. I just yeah,
and Yishmael.
yeah, right. But that, that was the idea. I just have to tell you, I just read something. Okay, that's the basic one. And then Yishmael was chayzer b'tshuva, right? And he could have been part of Klal Yisrael as a Ger Toisha. He wasn't like the Shiva Amamin. In other words, as long as he was subjected and subdued to the chinuch of Avram, he could have been part of the family. It's a fascinating. There's something called a Ger Toisha, right? A Ger Toisha, we have a Allah of the Chayach Chicha, right? You have to support him, right? There's Allah of the Ger Toisha that was a guy who lives in Klal Yisrael, in Eretz Yisrael, Davka, and Shem Mitzvah and Noach. There's Allah that you have to support him. He's what? There's Allah you have to support him. There's a Ger Toisha. That Yishmael could have been that. In other words, it had it worked out, it would have been that relationship, but it didn't work out. So I just today, I got this email from this guy, Rabbi Ephraim Schwartz. He's like an interesting guy. He's a tour guide and a rav. You know, like he must be one of these like settlers. And I'd read the first couple of paragraphs. It starts like this: he went through a personal Holocaust. He survived being thrown into the ovens, but his brothers didn't. He had family members kidnapped. He was mocked and persecuted wherever he went. His own wife was taken to be abused across the border to Egypt, to Gaza. Only a miracle saved him. Miracles that he saw daily and that he dedicated his life to teaching the world about. He was going to let the evil bring him down to their level. He was going to plant trees of life instead. He was going to fill the world with kindness and light, for only light can chase away the darkness. There was no one too evil that he didn't feel that he could reach out and reveal the spark of holiness and godliness hidden within. That love, kindness, and forgiveness couldn't motivate them to return and be saved. Love conquers all. The power of Torah will return everyone. The world can be fixed, but he was wrong. And it says in this week's parasha, that's where Stein comes up. There are certain types of people who are so raw that if they without 10 tzaddikim, there's no way they're coming back. And you have to realize it's not always going to work. And then he goes on to say that the same thing for Yishmael. And he says that and he said the same this whole shikul Torah that there are certain people that if they're subjected to you to like if Yishmael would have been open to be makabel from Sarai, from Avram, then there could have been like a secondary part of Klal Yisrael and so forth, right? There could have been like a Ger Toisha relationship. But it all depends on that. It depends on the makabel wanting to be makabel. If the makabel doesn't want to be makabel, it's gaitnish, you know what I mean? And then what do you have to do? You have to be tough, and you have to subdue them. And you have to subdue Yishmael, that they should be put in their place. And then you can do it. The Kiddush Hashem will come out of it. Yeah, that's right. And it won't work, right? Okay. Okay, look.